dive into the ancient world where the story of Christianity begins. Our journey starts in the 1st century CE, a time when the Roman Empire ruled vast territories, and a small province named Judea marked the birthplace of a faith that would shape the course of history. In this humble corner of the Roman Empire, Christianity was born, a faith that drew its roots from Judaism. Yet, it was a faith that would grow to have its own distinct identity, a faith that would eventually spread to every corner of the globe. At the heart of this faith was a central figure, a man named Jesus Christ. His teachings, his life, and most importantly, the belief in his resurrection, laid the bedrock for the burgeoning Christian faith. His followers, convinced of his divine nature and inspired by his message of love and salvation, began to share his teachings, spreading the word of Christ. But the early days of Christianity were not without their challenges. The new faith was often met with suspicion and hostility, and its followers frequently found themselves at odds with the Roman authorities. Despite these hurdles, the Christian faith persisted and spread, its message resonating with a growing number of people within the empire. What started as a small sect in the province of Judea began to expand, its influence reaching beyond its initial boundaries. The teachings of Christ were carried by his followers across the provinces of the Roman Empire, from the bustling streets of Rome to the distant corners of the empire. This expansion wasn't merely geographical, it was also a growth in ideology, in belief, in faith. The teachings of Jesus Christ, once confined to a small group of followers, began to permeate the society of the Roman Empire, influencing its culture, its values, its very identity. From a small sect in Judea, Christianity spread its wings across the vast Roman Empire. This was only the beginning of a story that would continue to unfold, a story of faith, of perseverance, and of a message that would echo through the centuries. But that, dear listener, is a tale for another time. Enter Constantine, the game changer in the Christian story. Now this is where things take a dramatic turn. Picture it, the 4th century. The Roman Empire is a vast, bustling entity, its borders stretching across 3 continents. But within its heart, a transformation is taking place. A man named Constantine, the newly minted emperor, is on the verge of a spiritual awakening. It's a conversion that will forever change the course of history. You see, Constantine didn't just convert to Christianity, he embraced it with an enthusiasm that was nothing short of revolutionary. His faith wasn't just a personal matter, it was a means to unite his empire under one common belief system. But Constantine's conversion wasn't just about belief, it was about power. He saw in Christianity a way to centralize control, to bring together the far-flung corners of his empire under a single unifying banner. And so, he set about making Christianity the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. This was no small task. There were still many who worshipped the old gods, who clung to the pagan rituals of their ancestors. And among those who did follow Christ, there was hardly a consensus on what it meant to be a Christian. There were disputes, debates, even outright conflicts over the nature of Christ and the interpretation of his teachings. And so, Constantine took a bold step. He called together the Council of Nicaea, a gathering of bishops from across the empire. Their mission, to hammer out a standardized doctrine, a common understanding of what it meant to be a Christian. It was a monumental task, but it was one that would shape Christianity for centuries to come. Constantine's influence was profound. He didn't just make Christianity the dominant religion of his empire. He reshaped it, molded it into a form that would endure. He brought order to chaos, unity to division. He turned a diverse, scattered faith into a powerful, centralized institution. With the emperor's seal of approval, Christianity was no longer a persecuted minority, but a dominant force. Constantine's conversion didn't just change the empire, it changed the world. And the echoes of his influence can still be felt today in the doctrines, practices, and structures of modern Christianity. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and behold the Church, a pillar of society. As we delve into this era, we find the Church not just as a beacon of spirituality, but also as a provider of essential social services, education, and a moral framework. In a time when public services were scant, the Church stepped in to fill the void. It offered support to the needy, the sick, the elderly, and the poor. It was the Church that established the first hospitals, orphanages, and schools. The church was not only a spiritual sanctuary, but also a refuge for those in need, a beacon of hope in a trying time. Education, too, was largely in the hands of the church. Monasteries and convents became centers of learning, preserving ancient texts and knowledge. The clergy were often the most educated members of society, and it was through their efforts that literacy and learning were promoted. The church was in many ways the world's first university, but the church was more than a provider of services and education. It was a moral compass, guiding the beliefs and behaviors of the masses. It established a moral code, a set of values that shaped society. The church's teachings influenced every aspect of life, from the personal to the political. Speaking of politics, the church was a major player in the political landscape of medieval Europe. It held immense power and influence, shaping laws and governance. Its reach extended beyond the spiritual into realms of politics and power. One of the most glaring examples of this was the Crusades, a series of holy wars sanctioned by the church. The Crusades had far-reaching implications, not just for the church, but for the entire medieval world. The church's role in medieval society was multifaceted and profound. It was not just a place of worship, but a pivotal institution that provided essential services, promoted education, established moral codes, and even influenced politics and wars. The church was more than a faith. It was a fundamental part of society, shaping the medieval world. So let's keep this in mind as we journey on, exploring the continuing evolution and impact of Christianity. Witness the shaking of the foundations, the Reformation, and its aftermath. The 16th century was a tipping point for Christianity. A rumble of discontent had been brewing beneath the surface, and it came to a head with the Protestant Reformation. This seismic shift in the religious landscape was led by figures like Martin Luther, a German monk whose 95 Theses were a rallying cry for reform, and John Calvin, a French theologian and pastor who significantly influenced the development of Christian theology. The Protestant Reformation was more than just a religious movement. It was a schism that divided the church and led to the creation of numerous Protestant denominations. The grievances of the reformers were many, but chief among them was the perceived corruption of the Catholic Church. They sought a return to what they believed were the true teachings of the Bible, and a move away from the rituals and traditions that had come to dominate the church. But the Catholic Church did not sit idly by. In response to the Protestant Reformation, it launched the Counter-Reformation, a period of Catholic resurgence initiated in response to the spread of Protestantism. It was a time of introspection and reform, an attempt to address the issues that had sparked the Protestant movement and to win back the hearts and minds of the faithful. The Reformation and the Counter-Reformation were not just religious movements. They were social and political earthquakes that shook Europe to its core. They changed the face of Christianity, reshaping it into the multifaceted faith that we see today. They led to wars, migrations, and the spread of new ideas and beliefs. In the wake of the Reformation, Europe was forever altered. The church was no longer a monolith, but a patchwork of different denominations, each with its own beliefs and practices. The power of the church was diminished, and the power of the individual was elevated. People were now free to interpret the Bible for themselves, to question, to challenge, and to seek their own path to salvation. The Reformation forever changed the face of Christianity in Europe. Leap into the modern era, where Christianity continues to evolve and impact society. Fast forwarding through the annals of time, we find Christianity flourishing in various corners of the world, its message of faith and redemption echoing across continents. From the bustling cities of North America to the remote villages of Africa, Christianity's influence is palpable, shaping culture, politics, and social norms. In the realm of social movements, Christianity has often been a driving force. We see its fingerprints in the abolitionist movement of the 19th century, where Christian leaders and lay people alike stood against the horrors of slavery. Their faith in the inherent dignity of all people, regardless of race or origin, fueled their fight for equality. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and we see Christianity again playing a pivotal role, this time in the civil rights movement. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister, used his pulpit and his faith to rally people against racial injustice, his Christian beliefs underpinning his advocacy for peace and equality. More recently, we've witnessed the rise of evangelicalism and Pentecostalism, movements characterized by their fervent expressions of faith and emphasis on personal conversion experiences. These movements have breathed new life into Christianity, drawing in millions and leaving an indelible mark on the Christian landscape. Yet Christianity in the modern era is not without its challenges. Inside its halls, heated debates rage on issues such as gender and sexuality. Some advocate for a more inclusive interpretation of Scripture, pushing for the acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals within the church, while others hold fast to more traditional views. These debates, while contentious, are a testament to the ongoing evolution of Christianity as it grapples with the complexities of an ever-changing world. In a diverse and changing world, Christianity continues to shape and be shaped by society. Its story is one of adaptation and resilience, of a faith that persists and evolves, never static, always moving. And as we look to the future, we can only wonder, what new chapters will Christianity write in the saga of human history?